the formula this year is predicated upon having so many returning guys, right?
Yep.
Mark, I don't know of another team out there returning 20 of 22 starters. I honestly do not. But when you have this many 6th year, 7th year guys, a lot of people got rid of their extra COVID year guys for the most part last season. Oklahoma State is not in that camp. We have an exorbitant number of 6th year, 7th year guys. So numerically, we don't really have a lot of room to be bringing guys in. So with that age of, a bunch of 6th year, 7th year guys, we are kind of what we are, right? So we're not going to have a lot of room to maneuver in the transfer portal, which is why you're seeing the number that we've brought in pretty indicative of the number that went out, right? We lost like 6, 7 scholarship guys. We're bringing in pretty close to around the same. Now, when it comes to the transfer market directly, we pinpointed Tyler Foster, the 6'7" tight end out of Ohio, to kind of replicate what we were able to get out of UMass transfer Josiah Johnson at tight end this previous year. We got all 6 O-linemen back, but we also got Isaiah Glass, 6'5", 300-pound tackle that started a couple years at Arizona State. So we theoretically now go 7 deep on the offensive line. Of course, we got Ollie Gordon back. We got A.J. Green, a transfer coming in from Arkansas, who had 952 yards spelling for Rocket Sanders there at Arkansas. So he's going to be a good complement to what Ollie Gordon provides, right? Ollie Gordon's the Thunder package. A.J. Green's more of the Lightning package. And then after that, man, the waters get kind of muddy, but it's because we don't necessarily need a whole lot, or at least from a numerical scholarship number, we can't bring in a whole lot, even if we did feel like we need it.
Cody, it sounds like your team's gunning for a Big 12 championship next year.
That is the objective, and as you've seen with the new defensive line coach, right? I think the common consensus around the team was we don't have a lot of ability, whether it be financially or scholarship numbers, to be able to go get a bunch of people. So let's go get a coach that can make our defensive line instantaneously better with the guys we already have. That leads me to believe that Mike Gundy knows that 2024 is pretty important, because him firing an alumnus, right, a Cowboy legend that's been on staff for quite some time, that is not a normal Gundy move. So for him to fire an alumnus, by the way, that just helped Oklahoma State be number 1 in the Big 12 in forced fumbles, number 1 in the Big 12 in fumbles recovery, number 4 in the Big 12 in sacks. We fired that guy after he produced a decent amount, which tells you that Mike Gundy knows 2024 is pretty daggone important.
Everybody's focused on the transfer portal, but I'm going to ask about the 25 recruiting class. Is that off to a decent start?
It appears to be, yes, right? From a matter of fact, I will be flying out to Houston tomorrow to cover some high school 7-on-7 tournaments, recruiting circuits and things of that nature. The high school coach's reputation for Mike Gundy has gotten better. Realistically, there was a little bit of an apprehension for certain high school coaches to send their players to Oklahoma State because they couldn't guarantee that, they were going to get the right product out of the player. That seems to have shifted a little bit recently, not only because of the emergence of Brian Nardo. I'm telling you, this defensive coordinator we have might be the best recruiter we have in the room, not named Benny Tonga. Benny Tonga is responsible for Oklahoma State landing Mason Cobb, Jalen Warren, Mayolake Smith, Sesi Valahe. Pretty much all of the West Coast flavor comes from Benny Tonga. Right now, defensively, Brian Nardo's that big of a name. I mean, heck, good and doggone well, Oklahoma State doesn't have an overabundance of guys that get offered from Texas, right? Well, the 2 Cowboys that got Texas offers this year were Landon Cleveland and David Kumbongo, both of which are defensive backs, both of which decided to stay committed to Oklahoma State, even though they've got some Texas and Alabama offers because of Brian Nardo. So I don't think that the number associated with Oklahoma State recruiting, even in the transfer market, we're not going to be ranked on the transfer portal class because we only got a few guys. You know what I mean? So I understand that. But the reluctancy to put Oklahoma State up in the top 40 in recruiting, I think that number obviously has to get better. And it needs to start getting better with trophies. Mark, we've played for so many Big 12 titles, but we only have one. You can't be 1 for 9 and expect your numbers to increase. But we had another 10-win season. OU and Texas are no longer in the way. Utah's coming back, but they're losing, 80% of their secondary. Offensively, Utah's going to be great. Arizona State, they've got a ways to go. Arizona's going to be really good, but replacing 90% of your coaching staff's not going to be easy. Oklahoma State is not dealing with any of that. We're not losing a bunch of people. We're only losing one coach. And the one coach that we're, quote unquote, losing, he's still a legendary alum that's going to be very helpful along the way. So it's a rare time in anybody's fandom to have 90% of a roster and 20 of 22 starters returning, but that's where we stand. So we're not going to be super aggressive in the transfer portal market, even if we wanted to be. We financially had to make sure that NIL was designated for guys like Ollie Gordon, Colin Oliver, Nick Martin before allocating that money for the NIL in the transfer portal.
We've got our guy Purple Orca asking a question in the chat. He says that I have not caught this comment, but that Jed Fish made a statement that the Big 12 doesn't have a pathway to the playoffs. That seems kind of odd. They have certainly one definite path to win the conference championship. So I don't know where they came from. I don't know if you heard anything about that. I'm guessing that Jed Fish would have said something differently about 2 weeks ago than he would today about that if there was some disparaging comment.
Well, A, I had not heard that. And B, that would be a pretty preposterous statement because, like you just said, if you win the conference 99.99999% of the time, you're automatically in, right? Yeah. And then if you finish second in the conference, let's say the scenario that happened last season where you had an undefeated TCU and a 3-loss K-State, right? K-State took care of business, Big 12 champs. TCU still ends up in the Final Four, beats Michigan, so on and so forth. That scenario would have put 2 teams in the 12-team playoff. I think that is more likely than the Big 12 not getting 1 rep. I think the Big 12 has opportunity to get 2 representatives in more often than just 1.
Yeah, I would agree with
that.
And
the ACC's not necessarily swimming in hot oil right now either.
Well, I think the committee is going to approach it like this. If you would take each season of the last 10 or 15 and place it in this 12 team, and obviously more so during the playoff era because there was a college football playoff committee. Before that, you would just have to use the rankings. So it's not the same, the AP rankings. Yes, you are seeing multiple teams from the Big 12 in the playoffs every year. Now there is an Oklahoma and Texas in there, but at the same time, I think the committee is going to play it pretty straight, meaning the champions get in, then they're selecting the highest ranked, the best records out there, and they will give a nod to the SEC and the Big Ten if 2 teams are 10-2. Yeah. I don't think there's any question that they're going to go that route until it's proven otherwise. Let's say we're 3 or 4 years down the road and there's a history there that the SEC's crushing it, the Big Ten's crushing it, whatever, or the Big 12, the ACC has been able to hold their ground both in the playoff and in key non-conference games during the regular season to say, no, we're going to cut this a little bit more to just the better resume and the better record is going to get it. But I would anticipate the Big 12 is going to get more than the champion in. I don't think there's any, well, there's a question about that. It's possible, but especially with the competitive nature of the league weighing down, most likely weighing down the records.
Yes, that's the only hiccup I would say is the Big 12 is going to beat the tar out of each other. I would argue, Mark, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the Big 12 not the only conference where last place can beat first place on any given weekend?
Oh, absolutely. It's the only one. Yes.
So, yeah, that is gonna, obviously be a little bit of an obstacle because we're gonna beat each other up. But I think that the flip side of that coin would be because of that, if we do get to the postseason play, the Big 12 teams are going to be a little bit more battle tested than maybe an ACC team or a meddling Big 10 style team.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah, I think the CFP committee just spoke. I don't agree with Florida State not getting in. I think Florida State should have got in, but they just told everybody that'll listen that undefeated in the ACC is not the same as a 2-loss Big 12 team or a 2-loss SEC or Big 10 team. It's just not.
Well, they got to hide behind the injury. Now, if Jordan
They did.
Travis was healthy, then we would have gotten to really see them with some heat on them. Either still go forward with that same decision or allow Florida State in the playoffs. I don't know.
I
All right, Cody.
agree, buddy. But I'm
Appreciate you
excited for
being here, man.
2024.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm ready.
It sounds
It's
like
Arlington
and you
or
should be.
bust, Mark. It's Arlington or bust. You know what? I was the only show that I know of that bet on us winning 10 games last year. I'm going to start the drinking early. I'm going to do it again right now.
Well, that's your decision. That's good. But if any, we can make any indication out of what happened last year. Absolutely. You were here pounding the table in the offseason, telling us how good Oklahoma State was and that nobody was giving them any chance in the Big 12. And then it started out rough. And I saw you take some shots on social media. And but it worked out.
It did. It worked out in the wash.
So good work by you. Good prediction there. And we will hopefully have you back here soon. We just wanted to run through the transfer portal and kind of get different takes from different people on their teams and see how this all played out.
Yeah, no, I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, we're in an odd position where we have far more returning guys than holes of necessity. So we filled it with a coach instead of a number of players. So I think it's shaping up to be a pretty wild ride for us in 2024.
Excellent. Cody Stovall, Locked On OK State, and it's at All Day O State on X.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Cody, appreciate you stopping by.
Howdy,
Good
Mark.
to see you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it.